Hey, it's the Andy Social Podcast, episode 217. Another crazy talk episode this week. And it's, what is this, lockdown episode 4 or something like that? Fucking hell. I don't think is it actually a lockdown in Australia? I don't think it is. I don't think it's been formally classified as that. But anyway, it may as well be. It's pretty close to. And I'm not going to crap on too much about that because, well, everyone else in the world's talking about it, and to be honest, I don't really have much to talk about at all. So I think I'm going to keep this crazy talk as short as possible. But knowing me, I'll end up waffling on anyway. But there's really not a lot going on in my life at the moment. Everything is just home, working. I leave the house maybe once a day to walk down to the post office to post shit off. And I'll go for a walk with Jess, and that's about it. And to be honest, my life hasn't really changed that much. I'm pretty lucky. But for whatever reason, maybe it's just too much of me paying attention to what else is going on in the world and how other people are reacting to it. But and just knowing that I can't do things, even though I probably wouldn't really be doing a great deal else. I don't know. I just don't know. But it's grinding on me a little bit, and I'm feeling it this week more so than I ever have previously, and especially in the last couple of days. So I wouldn't call myself a Debbie Downer, but maybe a Dowling Downer. I'm feeling it. So I'll just do a quick check-in just to keep the podcast consistent. I think it's a good habit to have, just keep it going because I'm really not feeling it at all. I don't feel like doing this at all. I don't feel like doing the podcast at all, which is just really, I think that's kind of grating at me a bit. It's concerning. And I know that even when I don't want to do something, I need to do it. So that's why I'm just doing this and keep putting the episodes out. I've got some great episodes coming out over the coming weeks. Still, I've got a few more banked up. But I do know that it's getting closer and closer to having to get back out there and do more podcasts, and I'm not feeling it at the moment. My mojo's not there, and it is what it is. I've had it many times in the past with the podcast, ups and downs, but I've just told myself I need to just keep my head down and plow through it, and the wave comes back, and it's all good, and it's just the way that things go. But at the moment, I'm definitely feeling it. So I'm just so happy that I've got episodes banked up, and I'm not having to go out there and try and get people onto the podcast. And I've had a bunch of people turn around and say, this is the best time to do podcasts because everybody's got time. They're all at home. But I don't think it's probably the best time to be doing podcasts, fresh ones, because I think all that's in people's minds is what's going on in the world at the moment. And I just don't think everybody's in the right space of mind to be doing it, and just talking to different people out there. And I think while a lot of people might be at home, I don't think people have necessarily got a lot of extra time on their hands. So I've got a bunch of people. I've got a long list of people that I'm going to be catching up with and doing podcasts with. So I'm not struggling to think of people. I think it's just more of a mental hurdle to get back into it and get talking to people again. And maybe that's part of the battle that I've had, is that I probably haven't been talking to as many people as I have been in the past, and that's probably been just gnawing away inside this cranium of mine. So anyway, there we go. I'm waffling already. Back into it. So I thought I'd just do a quick check-in for anyone who's interested. Just talk about some of the stuff I've been reading, things I've been watching, just little things I've been working on, and the usual housekeeping stuff along the way. So, reading. So I finished old Bertie Bert's book, Bertrand Russell's book of political ideals. I tell you what, he doesn't really like capitalism that much, does he? He's I really like a lot of the things resonate with me. He's all about talking about getting rid of sort of possessive qualities in people and a possessive political agenda, and giving people space to be creative and innovative, and I'm all for that. I think that's fantastic. But also there's a real separation of wealth and a distribution of wealth. And I don't know, some of the stuff went over my head because, I'm a bit of a monkey when it comes to a lot of this stuff. But I was a bit worried about his whole total anti-capitalist sort of vibe that came through in parts of it. And I don't know. Anyway, I don't even know why I'm digging into this, because I don't even know what I'm talking about. Anyway, lots of it I identified with, and other stuff either I just didn't understand it enough, or it sounded a little bit too extreme for me, sort of just leaning too far, sort of in a lefty sort of almost, I don't know, there's this sort of communist vibe to it. I don't know, but I like a lot of what Bertrand Russell writes, Bertie Bert. So I've got a bunch of his other books I still haven't read yet, but a lot of stuff that I've read over online, quotes and things over the years, I've really identified with and really enjoyed a lot of his writing. So, but like anybody out there, you can't necessarily agree with everything that anybody writes, because that would be silly. And it's good to be critical of different things, or have a different opinion, or eventually be swayed with a different opinion. So it's good to just be challenged all the time. So anyway, finished that book. I'm now reading George Carlin's Brain Droppings, which, he's a fucking miserable cunt, isn't he? I mean, I really like George Carlin. I think he's hilarious. And it's so funny that he rips into boomers, because the way he talks is just total boomer. Just the way his observations in life and everything like that. But I mean, he's an amazing comedian. I really love, and I love the things that he says. I love his perspectives on life. But yeah, he's got this whole, sort of pessimistic vibe on life in general, but very witty, very clever, very smart, intelligent guy. So I am enjoying it, but I'm at the same time going, oh man, like fucking, I mean, I guess it's your thing. But dude, like, just chill out a bit. Like, it's just, anyway, so I am enjoying it. So it's a pretty easy book, so I reckon I'll be finished within the day or so, and then I'll jump onto something else. Still reading my short stories, Franz Kafka short stories book. I'm just trying to think of the last few short stories of his that I've been reading. They're really good, because I can read one like in bed, like within, they're only like 5 or 6 pages a pop. I think the last one I read was what was it? The Hunger Artist, I think, which is apparently his last ever story that he wrote before he died. I think he died literally like 3 or 4 days later after finishing this short story, and it's all about this hunger artist, this guy who would starve himself or go on hunger strike for 40 days, and these crowds of people would come, and he'd be in a cage, and they'd all like ask him questions, and they'd be all, amazed at his feat that he was doing. But he'd get to 40 days and people would start to lose interest, and the guy, like the promoter, would turn around and say, well, that's it, we're going to let you out and feed you now. And he'd always be miserable about it, because he believed that he could last longer than 40 days. But eventually, being a hunger artist wasn't as appealing as it used to be. It wasn't as popular, and people were starting to lose interest in it. And he ended up getting another gig at a traveling circus or something. And he used to be in a cage outside on the way to the animals, and everyone would pass him. I know I'm completely giving spoilers here, but they're passing him to get to the animals, and only a couple of people would stop and not really paying attention to him. But finally, he realized that he could go longer than 40 days. Like no one was telling him that he had to stop after 40 days, and he kept going and going and going. And eventually, somebody came up to the cage. I don't know if it was somebody that worked for the circus, or passerby or whatever, but he asked him, and he was getting really close to dying, and eventually he just said, look, the only reason he goes, I shouldn't be praised for my feats. The only reason I do this is because I've never been able to find anything that I like eating. And that was kind of like the little twist at the end. It's quite comical the way that it's sort of portrayed and set out, but a very short story. And it's the last story that he ever wrote. A few days later, he died. And yeah, very, very interesting guy. And so anyway, I'm about 3/4 of the way through this book collection of short stories. He's got heaps of stuff. And I think I mentioned in a previous episode, some of his famous ones is The Trial and The Metamorphosis, and there's a couple of others. Anyway, yeah, really good. So highly recommend checking that out. So I'm reading them, and I've got about 4 piles of books to go through. So no doubt by the time the next Crazy Talk comes out, I'll have another book to to share with you all. I've been watching a bunch of different things. Jess and I are 2/3 of the way through the Epic Human documentary. It's on YouTube. I think it's just called Human, and it's 3 parts. I think if you look for Human documentary on YouTube, you should be able to find it. I think in brackets it's like the extended version or something like that. Each episode's like an hour and a half long, and it's really cool. Like it's just people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different countries, etc., telling stories about different topics, family, death, love, war, all sorts of stuff. And there's no narration, there's no commentary. It's not sort of swayed in any particular way. It's a wide range of different perspectives and opinions and perspective. Like, did I say perspectives twice? Anyway, but yeah, really sort of full on, very in your face. And I think if anything, it's probably helped me a little bit during this time to sort of, I don't know, like recalibrate, like just a little bit of self-calibration to sort of realize that, whatever sort of bullshit is knocking around in my head, and whatever may feel is dragging me down at times, it's not that bad, and life's pretty good. Life's pretty damn good, even in times like this where there's all this uncertainty around us in the world and not knowing what's going on around us, and people close to us impacted, and a lot of stress and anxiety. It still pales in comparison to what other people have gone through and continue to go through right now. And it's fine to feel bad. It's fine to feel anxious and stressed and upset and all these feelings, but I think the important thing is to not dwell and sit in those feelings for too long. There's certainly other people out there that are far worse off than we are, and it's not to feel guilty. It's a nice perspective to realize that we're most of us out there, and I'm pretty sure for the majority of you folk that are listening to me waffle on are probably pretty well off in the grand scheme of things. We've all got our challenges and struggles and things that eat up inside us and make life difficult at times. But I think there's other people out there that are always worse off than us. So a nice little perspective shifter for me anyway, personally. The other thing that I've been watching, here's my version of binge watching. Like everyone goes on Netflix and stuff like that. I binge watch Geography Now on YouTube. If anyone's not familiar with Geography Now, find it on YouTube. There's like a couple of million subscribers on it. This guy, I think his nickname's Babby, and he is just so fucking cool. It's just him doing 20-minute videos on every single country in the world. And I don't know what he's up to, but I started A a few years ago, and I think Jess and I are only up to E. I think we had a few years break in between, but I'm pretty sure we watched some of these on our honeymoon, of all of all things you do on a honeymoon. But yeah, I love this stuff. It's really good. He's got a few different segments that breaks up each episode, and it's just super cool. Totally G-rated, but not necessarily like totally kids oriented. But yeah, like just like really like it's right up my alley. It's shit that I love. So anyway, I've been watching them, and I only sort of remembered it this week, so I've been getting back into that. So I'm going to see how far I can get before we all have to go back and do other things. So yeah, I've got one more part of Human to watch, part 3, and then I'll be slamming my way through more Geography Now YouTube videos, and I've got a whole bunch of other bookmarked documentaries that I've been saving from years gone by that I'll start to sift through as well. So heaps of stuff there to watch. I'll never be short of things to do. Speaking of doing things, I think I did mention last week I was in the midst of putting together a video to sell shit on the Lord online store. And anyway, I'm sure you guys have seen it on your feeds, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. So it's up. It's ridiculous and pretty dumb, but it's pretty much how I expected it to come out. So no frills. Did it relatively quickly. Just wrote out a whole bunch of different takes that I had to do and just smash them out, and it's just shit. It's craptastic. So I'm pretty happy with it because it's how I intended it to be, and people seem to like it as well. So if anybody that hasn't seen it, just go on my Facebook page or the Lord Facebook page, or on Instagram or Twitter, and you should be able to find it pretty easily. But the gist of the whole thing is that for the month of April, if you order anything from the Lord online store, you will get a free Lord or Dungeon patch with every single order. And if you spend over $100, then you'll get both patches. You also get the Dime Bag Tribute CD that I've been crapping on about for the past several weeks on this podcast. And you'll also get a Lord Hip Flask and a Lord Bottle Opener as well, all for free with your order. And for you folks, you guys know the drill. You can use the code AndySocial, pardon me, oh, geez, at checkout on Bandcamp, and you'll also get 15% off. So yeah, a great way to get some deals, get some discounts, get some free shit. And also for us, I need to clear out some more merch. Not so much to make money. I mean, we do need to make money to pay for things, of course, and keep the band fueled. But I need to clear stock so I can make room for new stuff. We are in the midst of getting some new stuff happening. Can't really talk about it just yet. But over the, I don't know, we'll see how it goes over the coming weeks, maybe, or maybe next month or two. Anyway, we'll have something coming, and there's a few things that are happening this year. So we're definitely not going to be quiet, even though we can't get out and play, which is not a new thing for us. We never really play in general anyway, but we'll certainly have stuff for you all you Lord lovers out there. But in the meantime, we need to clear some old t-shirts, some CDs, some vinyl, some patches, all sorts of shit. And I just need to make room because I've got more stuff coming, and I'd love to be able to give some of you folks some more new things to check out and enjoy. So go and check all that out. But yeah, the video seems to be going all right. And yeah, if you want to share that around, that'd be great as well. You know, the old algos, never are helpful for us. So yeah, any way that you can share them on any of the socials will be huge for us. I also got let's speak English. I also got a bunch of flyers printed up. Some of you may have seen it on Instagram. Some Lord flyers and some podcast flyers, some Andy Social and Nod to the Old School flyers. So I've started dumping them in Discogs orders and eBay orders and Lord orders, etc., etc. And I've also done a shout out. I've done a shout out. That'll do. And a bit of a call to action to you folk as well. If you know anybody, if you're a musician or an artist, or hell, a business owner, anybody out there that has something and has any old flyers, stickers, any old CDs, anything promotional based that's fairly small and easy to pack. So probably not t-shirts as such, or drink holders and larger things, but anything that's relatively small. CDs are fine because you can pack them right down. And you're interested in getting rid of them and clearing some room yourself, and want to get rid of them for nothing, hit me up. I'll give you some details. You can post them to me, and I will include them in all of our Lord orders, my Discogs orders and eBay orders, which means that every week I'm sending stuff all over the world and all over the country, and it's a great way to get in front of people. So I know Mick Goddard listens to the podcast. Hey, Mick, I know that you're going to send me out some more Mick G photography business cards, so I'm going to include them. And I'll make sure that they're probably included for, well, I'll have a chat to you anyway, but I'll try and make sure that they're included for probably Australian orders more so than anywhere else. But I'll let you tell me where the best places for those business cards to go. But I've got a few other bands that are in the midst of sending me CDs and flyers and stickers and stuff like that. So folks, if you haven't hit me up already, please do so if you're interested. And it's a great way to declutter. It's a great way to get rid of stuff that's sitting there not doing anything, sitting in boxes, sitting on shelves. And it's a great way to get in front of new people. You know, it's nothing better than opening up a parcel or a package that comes in the mail, and you know, you got your CD that you just ordered or whatever it might be, and you go through and you got these little extras. You know, there's an extra sticker or there's a flyer or a little note or something like that in there, and it's to get that sort of attention compared to flicking through a Facebook feed or an Instagram feed where everyone's trying to promote their own thing and sell their own thing or talk about what they're doing or advertising their life, whichever way they can. The attention that you get having something tangible in front of you when you open up a package, that's pretty valuable. So I'm putting it out there for you folks. I'm sending stuff out all the time, and I'd love to be able to help you guys out. And it's good for me as well. It's an extra little bang for your buck. It's an extra little interesting thing, and it encourages people to come back and buy more things from me. It's customer retention. So everyone's a winner. And I've been doing this for quite a few years with the band in particular. I think at least for the past 6 or 7 years. And I've done it for a lot of bands. So anyone that's ordered from me over the years has certainly received a whole bunch of weird and wonderful extras, promo stuff, CDs and stickers and flyers and all sorts of things. So I want to keep that going. And I've relaxed a little bit since moving back to Sydney. But yeah, I'm ready to up the ante again and sort of help out and contribute as much as possible to other people as well as myself. So that's that. Speaking of sending things, so globally, this whole COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic bullshit that's going on, is starting to impact, the mailing system. So Australia Post has suspended, all economy mail, that's merchandise. So, I won't go into all the technical details if you're not somebody that frequents a post office often, but more or less what it means is that I can't send single CDs in the post as what you would class as large letters, which is the cheapest way of posting a single CD out to somebody. You class them as merchandise as a large letter. It's economy, which means it's untracked, and it's the cheapest way to get CDs out, or anything that's flat, that's less than 2 centimeters. I just said I wasn't going to go into technicals anyway. Less than 2 centimeters in height, so it can fit through basically your mailbox. And they've suspended all of this to, I don't know if it's all of North America, but it's at least the United States. It's most of Europe, and most parts of Asia, and I think the list is increasing. So, so suddenly while I'm still getting a lot of orders, and funnily enough, I'm getting a lot more vinyl now, which is actually really good because I have to send them as actual parcels. But I can't send single CDs anymore. So for the time being, it's all been suspended. So I'm trying to find a way to get around it, see if I can find a sneaky way of getting it through. I've got a couple of ideas, but you know, I won't necessarily say that I'm going to do it because that's probably not a good thing to advertise. But more or less, it means that I have to probably scale back on single CDs being posted internationally. Interstate in Australia, it's completely fine. There's no impact whatsoever. But sending a single CD or something classed as a large letter, I can't do it for the foreseeable future. So we'll just have to play that one by ear. But the other thing that's being impacted is starting to get significant delays. So people that have sent things out about a month ago still aren't receiving things at the moment. And I think that's just more or less, and the reason why I think Australia Post has suspended all this is due to there's less planes in the air. There's less ability to be able to transfer all of this mail internationally, and so for them it's better to get rid of all the untracked stuff and all the small stuff, because if that stuff goes missing or there's extensive delays, then they're probably going to have an influx of people like me calling up going, oh, do you know what potentially may have happened to this? Have there been delays, et cetera, et cetera? And that's just extra volume that they don't want to deal with. So I can still send parcels, tracked and all that sort of stuff, which is more manageable, I assume, for Australia Post. So, business continues, but yeah, it has definitely been impacted. So I can see a lot of bands are going to suffer because of this if they're selling single CDs one at a time. So if you are a music supporter out there and you love to buy CDs directly from bands, it might be a good time to try and order a few things at once. Do a bit of a haul. I know it costs more money, but you may actually save money on shipping by getting a bulk order. So get a t-shirt and a CD, or a couple of t-shirts, or you guys know how to order stuff. Order more than one thing, and that means that they'll be able to send it as a parcel. It'll have tracking. The band will be able to justify shipping a bit more as well, and it'll just mean that you can save a bit of money on shipping as well by getting a whole bunch of stuff at one time as well. And it's a good time to support. If you got a couple of spare bucks to spend, it's a great way to support bands and buy a bit of merch and help them clear some stuff. I know a lot of bands out there were planning to tour and have had to postpone or cancel things, non-refundable tickets and hotels and all sorts of stuff. So definitely go and spend money where you can to support some of those guys out there that are struggling a little bit. So much for me not waffling this episode. Hey, fucking hell. What else have we got here? Oh, I'm almost done. I've got the social newsletter that's going to come out this week, so stay tuned for that one. I've just got to remember to do it. So I'll put a little reminder in my phone after this. Watch me forget. Spoilers this week. This week's podcast is with 3 people. I think this is one of the. It's been a while since I've done a podcast with more than a couple of people. So this week is with Jade Montserrat, Corey Davis, and Mitch Brackman. They're all from the bands Freedom of Fear and Decidia. Adelaide bands, great bands. They've got a couple of albums that have just come out. Decidia's album just came out a couple of weeks ago, or a week or so ago, called Costly Signals, and Freedom of Fear's album Nocturnal Graves, was that the album? I'm pretty sure it was. That came out, I think, the day after Fallen Idols. So that came out August 2nd last year. So both great albums, really good stuff. So you can support both of them. And obviously I'll have everything in the show notes when that episode comes out later this week. So that'll be Thursday night. A real fun chat, totally laid back, just shit talking, and a lot of fun. And it sort of inspired me to get around to upgrading my H5 to a H6, so I can have up to 4 mics going at once. A little bit confusing for the listener, but a lot of fun if you can avoid passing mics around to different people, which is what we did in this episode. But I'm sure that many of you will enjoy that one when it comes out on Thursday. And I think that's about it. So if you want to support me, paypal.me/AndyDalyOfficial. Sling me 50 cents or $1 or whatever you want to do. That'll help just keep the podcast going. I've got a few more expenses that'll be coming as of May, thanks to Wooshka. And just keep the whole podcast going. So if you want to support, you can. Obviously, use the code AndySocial for anything on the Lord online store or AndySocial store. I think I've still got a little bit of merch left on AndySocial. That's the AndySocialPodcast.bandcamp.com or LordOfficial.bandcamp.com. And everything's in the show notes anyway. You guys know the drill. AndyDowling.net, all my social media handles. If you're not following me on the socials, you can certainly do so. I would welcome that. Love to talk to you. If you want to support me, as always, if you don't want to throw money my way, or you can't, no judging. A bit of social media love, reviews, Facebook, Apple, Stitcher, community notice boards, wherever the hell you want to, bulletin boards, old forums. I don't give a shit. Just talk about the podcast, and it goes a long way. Massive help for me. But all that stuff is great. And the fact that you're still listening to me now, it's just incredible. So enough waffling on from me, as I always say. It is a bit shorter than normal. Good. There you go. I didn't lie. All right. Enough crazy talk for this week. Hopefully I'll be a little bit more energized for next week. But until then, folks, take care. Keep sane. Get out of, I wouldn't say get out of the house, but, you are allowed to, well, depending on where you are in the world, you are allowed to get out of the house and do some exercise. Just make sure you're following the rules. But just try to, just distance yourself from the screens as much as you can. I think that's probably something that's impacting a lot of us at the moment. It's an easy way to fill in the time when you have a bit of idle time, or get busy on things, especially with work and not being in offices or wherever you might be, for those that aren't essential workers, and I think the less that you're in front of your phone or a laptop or something like that, the better. So just give yourselves a break, zone out, put some headphones on, listen to some music, or don't listen to anything. Meditate, or just stare at a wall, or just look outside and look at the sky or the trees, or fucking just do something. just chill out. I'm just talking to myself, really. Anyway, folks, until next week, take care. Bye-bye.
Larry.